मला हे चालू ठेवावं लागेल म्हणजे आता बघ आवाज येतोय का बघ.
नाही ब्रो, व्हिडिओचा आवाज नाही येत. थांब, स्टॉप शेअर कर.
कळलं मला काय करायचंय.
हा, शेअर साऊंड, येस, आणि ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर व्हिडिओ क्लिप, येस.
मला हे चालू ठेवावं लागेल. काय जातोस तू.
नाही ब्रो, व्हिडिओचा आवाज नाही येत. थांब, स्टॉप शेअर कर.
कळलं मला काय करायचंय.
शेअर साऊंड, येस, आणि ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर व्हिडिओ क्लिप, येस.
काय जातोस तू.
नाही ब्रो, व्हिडिओचा आवाज नाही येत. थांब, स्टॉप शेअर कर.
कळलं मला काय करायचंय.
शेअर साऊंड, येस, आणि ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर व्हिडिओ क्लिप, येस.
काय जातोस तू.
Everybody, welcome back to the final session. I am just going to start the session, and invariably what I do is I just start talking, and invariably people start to come through the doors. That door probably should be shut. If you could do that, thank you, sir. And people will eventually come in. I will just check that Rahul
back to the final
is
session.
in the building.
I am just going to start.
There we go. Great. That's always comforting. And I shall just start to introduce Rahul, and then we will get today.
People will eventually come
It's been a thoroughly enjoyable and stimulating session so far. And this session, we're going to focus a little bit more on micronutrient technology. The subject of Rahul's presentation is very simply micronutrients in India. So we've already had a little bit of a precursor to that. What can I tell you about Dr. Rahul Mirkandani? Has 23 years experience as the director of Aries Agro Limited. And he has pioneered several unique marketing processes with Aries in India. Here in the biography, launching India's first loyalty program in agribusiness scheme, and also India's first agribusiness flash sale as well, and other insurance-based retention programs. So what I will do is I shall let Rahul to take the floor, and looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, and very good evening to everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Salam Namaste from India. For me, the content of today's presentation is going to be twofold. One is to talk to the world about the micronutrient industry in the country, one of perhaps the most fast-growing industry segments within agribusiness within India. I've had the privilege of leading Aries Agro Limited, a 53-year-old multinational company born out of India, very proudly made the world's best come out of India for the last 53 years. I've been involved for the last 30. And it's been a great journey, talking about products and services which we sell to farmers across the country. So my content is going to be twofold. One, talking to you about what are the micronutrient industry trends in the country, which perhaps would be most interesting to a global audience. And secondly, looking at how we as an organization are taking care of the requirements of millions of farmers across the country. So that's how I will take the content of today's presentation. Just to talk to you a little bit about Aries and the work that we do. Our organization is a 53-year-old Indian-born multinational company. We have been at the forefront of several industry associations and work that has been done to create farming practices and best practices in the country. Currently, we head the Confederation of Indian Industry, the largest industry body in the country, the Agriculture Council, for this particular organization. I personally am the president of the Indian Microfertilizer Manufacturers Association, an association that was founded by my dad when he started the organization, and today takes the best and brightest companies in the micronutrient space within its fold. And also we have today 130 brands that we sell across the length and breadth of the country. We today function on 90,000 retail shelves. Last year we sold to about 9 million farmers, and we've been also the pioneers of chelation in India. We actually brought chelation to India in the 1970s, and it still remains the bedrock of everything that Aries Agro does in our country. What also is interesting is that we have today a global presence where we bring the world's best to India, and we also give India's best products to the world. Talking to the global audience on micronutrient trends in the country, you will see that our industry has really achieved rapid growth in the last few years. In fact, the stars have aligned for the micronutrient industry, considering several mega trends that have really got this industry to grow at an unprecedented pace. If you look at the mega trends of last 16 to 21, from the years 2016 to 21, this industry has grown by about 7.1% CAGR. And it's expected to grow faster than it has in the past. In fact, we expect from 2021 onwards, it's expected to grow at about 10.8% CAGR. The total consumption of micronutrients in India in the year 2023 is about 1 million tons of fertilizer. 1 million tons of micronutrients currently sell in the country. My own company has a dominant share within this particular segment, but it's the fact that India's farmers today are aware of balancing plant nutrition. Integrated nutrient management has been declared a national imperative. I myself sit on the Prime Minister's Council for doubling farm incomes, and the integrated nutrient management and balanced fertilization has been declared one of the national imperatives in India to increase the yield and productive efficiency of our farms. If you look at the segmentation within this, multi-micronutrient fertilizers are the most largest segment within our country. The reason it's the biggest segment is because farmers in India are perhaps not as widely aware of specific nutrient deficiencies as their counterparts worldwide. And hence, what they prefer is a crop and soil-specific formulation that is providing the specific nutrient requirements for their own farms. So therefore, there is an element of generalization that farmers do expect, because they do not have the kind of wherewithal to take their own farm inputs and identify their own nutrient deficiencies. So if you look at the trends, you will see the biggest trend is multi-micronutrient fertilizers. Now this brings in the element of customization. Our own company customizes multi-micronutrients for 120 different soil and crop conditions. This level of customization makes it extremely complex to deal with the Indian market, but that is on our factory side. From the point of view of the customer expects simplicity in the fact that the label actually mentions in India which crop, which soil condition a particular multi-micronutrient needs to be used for. So I would perhaps sell in one of the states of India saying this is meant for rice crop, meant on this soil condition and to be used at a particular stage. And that formulation will be customized for that geography and that geography alone, which means farmers in India are able to get a very, very specific dosage based on the generalized trends in their respective areas. And that is why multi-micronutrient mixtures are perhaps the largest segment in India of micronutrients. You then have these straight micronutrients, which is basically single nutrients of zinc, iron, copper, manganese, etc., which typically sell once the farmer has used multi-micronutrients for a few years, gets a little more comfortable, does his own soil tests, and then says, now I will start using singles because I don't want a general formula anymore. I'm now having the skills to identify my own nutrient deficiencies. The next is the chelated micronutrients, which is the third largest trend. This was the segment that my own company pioneered in India, and today we have some very, very good organizations pioneering chelation in the country. And we also have fortified micronutrients, where some amount of NPKs fortified with micronutrients are also finding a place within the Indian basket of micronutrients. If you look at the consumption pattern in terms of crops, cereals are the largest segment for micronutrient usage, followed by fruits and vegetables, pulses and oilseeds, and others. Of course, India being a subcontinent, we have every perceivable agroclimatic zone that exists within our own geography, and therefore there is perhaps no soil condition that does not use micronutrients. We ourselves sell micronutrients on 120 different crops in the country. If you look at the specific trends in terms of nutrient deficiencies, zinc is the largest deficiency in India. Followed by boron. Zinc and boron are perhaps the largest problems in terms of micronutrient deficiency, followed by iron, molybdenum, manganese, and copper. Almost 1/3 of Indian soils are deficient in zinc, and it is known as the most dominant deficiency of nutrition after NPKs. If you look at the consumption, therefore, it follows the trend. About 42% of the country has used zinc-based micronutrients as the most important product, followed by boron, and followed after that by iron and other nutrients. You will also find that 65% of micronutrient usage happens in cereals, followed by about 15% on fruits and vegetables, 12% on pulses and oilseeds, and the other crops follow thereafter. Now, what is the reason for this massive market and growing market for micronutrients? Like I had mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, a lot of the mega trends for this industry have actually aligned significantly in the last few years. In the last decade, you will find that there has been a very, very large focus on balancing nutrition. Also, innovation has become the forefront of what farmers expect today to understand. What also has happened is many companies, very, very good companies in India, agribusiness companies, have learned to talk to farmers the commerce of agriculture and shown them the benefits, the cost benefits of using innovation and innovative practices. We call the Indian solutions to Indian problems next practices. These are next practices beyond best practices because there are unique Indian solutions that we have provided farmers, and by talking to them about commerce first, followed by science thereafter. The language of numbers is what has convinced farmers that the cost benefit of using innovative technologies far outweighs using traditional practices. And this is exactly why the focus on innovation, the growing deficiencies in the soil, and also government policy which is pushing balanced nutrition as one of the primary national agendas have actually given rise to this very large and burgeoning market for micronutrients in India. The major exporting countries, India does export a lot of micronutrients to the world as well, but we also are looking at major import and exporting countries have also been listed for the benefit of you, our global audience. India, however, does provide very, very unique solutions to micronutrient usage. Many of our companies in India have the scale that allows you to give a very, very cost-effective product to the world. We also have chelates which can be made at a fraction of the cost that typically the Western world would be able to produce, and still produces world-class results. And this is really where we believe our core competence lies. How have we as a company addressed this? If you look at our primary product range, our product range includes the dominant share being EDTA chelation, a technology that we pioneered and brought into India in the 1970s. EDTA chelates remain almost 60% of our market in the country. We also have protein-based chelates, amino acid chelates that we have brought into the country. Also high-density NPK formulations. Our entire product range believes that the lesser we use, the better for the farmers. Less usage, less dosage, high concentration products remain the forte of what Aries does. Crop-specific and customized nutrients. Today we customize for 120 different crops. This is again a tremendous trust builder and also a market maker for micronutrients in the country. High quality organic fertilizers and plant growth promoters also see a growing trend within the Indian market, and also slow release crop nutrients, considering labor is perhaps the least available resource in India today. Indian farms do not have any labor, and therefore slow release nutrients where they can use labor once is again an innovation that most farmers in India appreciate and use. Chelation, of course, remains our forte. We have proved with university trials across the country a cost benefit of almost 6:1 for the use of chelates on Indian soils, and yield increases of an average of 35% compared to traditional sources of chelated sulfates and traditional micronutrient sources. What's new also in the country, beyond chelation and all of the various segments we talked about, the new India today talks about usage of many, many more efficient nutrient delivery systems. As a country, we are now at the forefront of using drones in agriculture. My own company has been the first to get civil aviation permission to use drones for Indian agricultural sprays for crop nutrients. And we have now proved the efficacy of using drones on various soils and various agroclimatic zones and on various crops using micronutrients and high density fertilizers for more efficient and effective spray solutions. We also now have gone out and worked with one of the leading technology schools in India to create artificial intelligence-based spectrophotometry-based soil scanners, which basically in a matter of seconds provide a soil health report to farmers using spectrophotometry methods and allow farmers to make recommendations on their crops using specific on-field soil tests. We have wet chemistry methods for micronutrients and spectrophotometry methods for NPKs, which are today really leading the way in terms of telling farmers that understand your nutrient, understand your field first, and then go out and make the right recommendations. We are also using artificial intelligence to take the mass of data that we've collected over the last many years to actually now make predictive models to tell farmers, in case there are certain nutrient deficiency trends that are visible, can you now predict what else will be deficient in your fields and make the most scientific usage of nutrition on your fields. Farmers in India also have really surprised us in terms of the adaptation of digital technologies. Today, almost all farmers are on YouTube. Many of them listen to communications, use voice and video-based messaging to provide the best crop information to farmers, and are also using apps on a very wide basis, not only to get information, but to also start ordering. In fact, my own company, 100% of our orders from our distributors are today completely online, and we sell to 90,000 retail points and 9 million farmers. So you can just imagine the way farmers in India have adapted to digital technologies, not using text, but using voice and video, which removes literacy from the equation, have really shown us how we can scale up the use of the right information and delivery of information to farmers at the most appropriate times. We, of course, have showcased a lot of our products and our solutions. That's our little mascot. We love him because he just is a picture of a typical Indian farmer. We also have understood that many women farmers are today in the field, and his sister will be launched this year as well. And we're looking at really getting the trust of farming practices into farmers' homes, getting them the right knowledge, giving them the power of information, and therefore spreading further the use of micronutrients, secondary nutrients, and water-soluble NPKs in the country in a most unprecedented and large manner. We believe the scale, the speed, and the precision of India is unparalleled. And if we can teach the world what we do in almost every perceivable stress soils, almost every single agroclimatic zone, I believe there's a lot that we can learn from the world, and we can teach the world equally well as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahul. And a very interesting point there about online buying in terms of video and audio taking away the literacy point of view. That's an interesting point there I hadn't heard. Do we have any questions from the floor? I can see my colleague there. In which case, I might say, in the interest of time, if you do have questions, go to Rahul and his team at the Aries booth just outside. And so thank you very much, Rahul.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, now we are moving on back to seaweed extracts. So the title of the next presentation is Effects of Seaweed Extract Biostimulant Derived from Ascophyllum nodosum on Micronutrient Use Efficiency and Fruit Quality in